All right, hi everyone. So we're here with Hiedi from Rumbalara Bees. She has a little small locally owned business on the Central Coast in East Gosford. Her bees get to go through the beautiful Rumbalara Reserve, and she's going to have a chat to us about how she uses her bees to make homemade artisan soaps and different gorgeous products. So Hiedi, do you mind telling us who you are, how you started, how you got into these?
Yeah, I'm Heidi, and I actually started, it would have been about 8 years ago, when my mum and dad actually hosted a hive on their property. And I guess I got interested because I remember my father sitting in front of the hive with his friend, just watching the bees go back and forth. I was like, what are they doing? And then I started reading about the bees, and I was like, whoa, these bees are amazing. And then I found out that there was a real big problem with the declining population of bees in the world. And I wanted to help. So I looked into getting a beehive, and I found Flow Hive. And I thought, wow, if you can harvest directly from the hive, that's pretty exciting. So I got a flow hive, and wow, the learning curve after I got that hive was ridiculous.
So what kind of things did you need? You just got the hive and worked everything out later, or what other kind of things did you do or buy to prepare yourself?
I would suggest to do the opposite to what I did. To learn, go to your local beekeeping club and learn about everything to do with beekeeping before you actually get the beehive. Whereas I did the opposite. I actually got the beehive, and then I went and got what they call a nuke. It's a nucleus of bees, and I put them in there, and and I was just watching YouTube, and I was going to the local bee club, and actually the local bee club was the best way to learn about bees, and it was pretty amazing, and I haven't looked back from there. I just kept on going, and
trial by fire.
Yeah, and I was getting this honey, and I was getting this beeswax, and I was like, what do I do with this beeswax?
So if someone else wanted to do this, what kind of a place would you need? Like, do you need to have a big property? Do you need to be near a national park? Or what kind of location do bees like to be?
You could, literally be pretty much anywhere to have bees. You just got to be aware of where the bees are going to be flying. You don't want them flying into the public or into your kids' playground or anything like that.
I guess they're carrying all that pollen and honey, and they probably don't want anyone getting in their way when they're carrying all their shopping.
Well, I think they just run into you.
Yeah.
And they go, oops. And they go, oh, you weren't there. You're not a tree before. So, yeah, they just, you don't want to be in their flight path on the way home.
Yeah.
And you want the hive to be in a position where it gets some sun. It's facing in a sort of a northeasterly direction, so it gets the morning sun, and then it's more productive because it's getting that warmth in the morning. It's particularly in the winter. But yeah, you can have it. I've seen them in apartment buildings.
Yeah,
I've seen them. Yeah, you can have them anywhere, really. I've literally seen flow hives where they have them where you can harvest the honey inside. Like it's like halfway out the window. So they're flying out, and you can actually see them at the back.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. It's pretty close to where you're living, but
I guess dogs and kids are probably going to get stung at some point if you're in close proximity to them. Just because they do, like you said, they'll run into you. It's not on purpose, but...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my kids haven't been stung yet, but certainly my husband has, and myself, just from working in close proximity to the hives. They just accidentally run into you usually. Or they usually give you a bit of a warning before they sting you. But I've had, I've had a sting just right near the eye, no warning, and I mean it happens if you're looking to become a beekeeper. You're going to get stung. Doesn't matter how much protective gear that you have on.
They'll find you.
They will, and they can recognise faces.
Yep.
You've done research. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So how much do you think you spent altogether setting up all your hives and everything like that?
Well, my flow hive costs extra. It costs about nearly 3 times as much as a normal sort of setup. I'd say like you can get bundles with flow hive. It costs about, it's like $1,200, and then you've got the nucleus that you need to buy as well. It's about $200 to $300 for a nucleus.
Unless you catch a swarm.
Unless you catch a swarm, which is actually not a bad way. Well, it's better to get a nucleus because it's pretty much a mini hive all set up, and it's much easier. But catching swarms is fun, really fun. And the normal setup for, say, a Landstroth design is, it's probably about, I think it was like
$80 maybe?
Well,
It's for 2. I think the club sells them if you assemble them yourselves. I think it's maybe $35 for the frames for each box.
Yeah, but for the whole setup, it ends up being...
Yeah, you got to put the frames in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ends up being about a third of the flow hive. So.
And I suppose you go buy suit, smoker.
Yeah, you need the protective gear. That's really important. Wear the gloves. Even though you see on YouTube them not wearing gloves, make sure you wear the gloves. Yep. You will get stung on the hands. And it's really important to protect yourself. You'll get really discouraged very quickly if you start getting stung a lot. And they will defend their home. Like, that's their home you're going into and having a look.
Awesome. So tell us a bit about all these products you have here. So,
well, I was getting this beeswax out of my hive, and I was like, what am I going to do with that? Also, I was getting, a fair bit of honey, so I started selling the honey. And the beeswax, I thought, okay, people like beeswax candles, so I started making those, and I'll show you, I've got...
So that must be out of your Langstroth though, right? Because you can't get beeswax out of a flow hive, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. So when I harvest my honey out of the Langstroth, which is its frames of honeycomb, I hand crush the honeycomb, and then filter the honey that comes out, and it goes into the jars. But what's left over is the wax, and then I filter the wax, and then I pour into mold. So this is my pillar mold here, and my long dinner mold here, and I've got this one here, which is like a votive. That's an example of that shape. And the thing with, I'm going to talk a bit about pouring candles and things.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what's really important when you are pouring candles is to get the right temperature. So I have it's like a candy thermometer, and so you put hot water into the bottom here. It's like a double boiler, and then you put the wax in the top, and then you put this in, and you get it up to, well, you melt it, and then you get it up to 70 degrees, or you have to let it cool down to 70 degrees Celsius before you pour the candles.
Because beeswax has quite a high melting temperature.
Yeah. It melts at just below 70 degrees. So you want it just above the melting point. Because if you pour candles at a higher temperature, it's likely that they'll crack. And you don't want them cracking. You want them to look nice in the molds.
Do you add oil or is it just pure beeswax for your candles?
Pure beeswax.
Pure beeswax.
And also another important thing is to use wicks, Australian cotton wicks that are specific for beeswax. So they're going to be bigger than normal wicks. But I've tried other wicks that you use for other, the petroleum-based candles. They just burn out.
Yeah.
And another thing that's really important is with the wax. It has to be really pure. So run it through like a fine cotton, you can run it through like a cotton.
Cheesecloth?
Well, cheesecloth is not fine enough.
Not fine enough.
I run it through cheesecloth first, or you can put a couple of layers of cheesecloth, and that's okay. And then I run it through like cotton. I've got like old cotton sheet, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because if it's not pure, what happens is when the flame is drawing the beeswax up, it'll clog the wick, and then it literally goes out. So if you've had candles that just go out, it's because either the wax is not pure enough, or you've got the wick is not the right wick for the candle.
Awesome. So what about these beautiful soaps you've got here? Do you want to tell us a bit about how you make those?
So I'm also a naturopath, a herbalist, and I was one day, as a naturopath, I look at all labels. I go into the supermarket, and for all my food, I look at labels. But I hadn't looked at my soap label. And one day I was looking at my soap label, and I was like, I cannot read most of the ingredients in these. They're like really long chemical names, and there was synthetic perfumes, there was synthetic colors, and I'm like, this is going on my skin, this is going on my family's skin. I was like, okay, how hard is it to make soap? And so I started making soap at that point, and found that that was quite a journey. And I started adding my honey into the soap, because honey attracts, like when you put honey into a jar, you have to have a tight lid. It has to be airtight, because what honey does, it attracts water. It loves water. And
Hydrophilic.
Is it hydrophilic? Yeah.
Yep.
And so in the soap, it's very hydrating to the skin. And so that's why I use it. Also, a lot of soap makers actually add sugar to soap to make it what they call gel. So when a soap goes through, so you insulate the soap when you make it to fully gel, so it gets these vibrant colors. So
those look absolutely stunning.
Yeah, if it doesn't go through full gel, it loses its colors. So this is alkanet root, and it'll have a much more vibrant gel if it's fully gelled through the soaping process. So that's one of the other reasons why you'd put either sugar, or I put the honey in there. But one of the disadvantages is that it does heat up a lot more, and so you do have to be sort of careful with that. But I can run you through the process of soap making. Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about the process. So you've got, this is my equipment here. You've got to wear your safety stuff. So you've got glasses and some gloves, because to make soap, what you need to do is use a very strong base, sodium hydroxide.
Also known as lye, isn't it?
So you make up a lye solution. So you mix sodium hydroxide with water, and that can, if you get that on your skin, it can burn you. So you need to use your protective gear when you're making that up, and it heats up quite a bit. You wait till it cools, and then you mix that with oils. And when that mixes, what happens is it has a chemical reaction, and it converts the oils through
emulsifying?
It's saponification. Yeah, and it saponifies, so makes the oils into soap. And you have to calculate everything really precisely. So you're using a gram weighing kitchen weigher, and everything has to be weighed per gram, because you want to get and also run all your recipes through a soap calculator, which you can find free online, because you want to make sure that the end product has no sodium hydroxide or no lye solution in the end product. You also have to have what they call a super fat, so some of the oil will be left over, and that's quite moisturizing to the skin. So I use like a 4% super fat. So
what oils are you using?
I use extra virgin olive oil, and I make sure it's Australian. Wherever possible, I'll get my ingredients from Australia or local. So I use olive oil and I use coconut oil. They're my two main oils that I use. I just find the coconut oil gives it the lather, the bubbles, and then the olive oil is very moisturizing to the skin. A lot of feedback, is that it's really good for sensitive skin, people who have sensitivities to other fragrances and that sort of thing.
So do you want to take us through quickly just all the different, I can see you've got a whole rainbow of different soaps there. Do you want to tell us what's in each one?
Let's move this out of the way. So this one, is the lavender, the alkanet root. So this is alkanet root. So it's alkanet root powder, and when you infuse it, make sure you put like a label on the top of how much you put in there to how much olive oil, and then record everything. So that means that if you get a result that you really like, and then you can repeat it. This one, what I do is in a bowl, I separate. So I use these two, and I separate the two colours. So this would be the base with the batch with the colour in it, and then I pour one off the other, and then I pour it all into the mould like this, and it makes all nice swirls. It's been a journey learning about all the techniques of making nice colours and swirls. And so this is goat's milk. What I do is you freeze the goat's milk into ice cubes, and then you add sodium hydroxide to the goat's milk. That way it's staying cool and doesn't burn the goat's milk as you make it. And then so I do a full water substitution for the goat's milk. So it's a really creamy soap. And then this one, so that's got no fragrance. So all fragrances will be essential oils, pure essential oils. This one's a eucalyptus one, and it's been quite a long time to get to this nice colour. It's a French green clay that I've used. When you use clays, what happens is you're introducing minerals to the skin, which is really nourishing to the skin. And this, I was trying to get the green with spirulina, but it was smelling fishy. So this is such a nice.
You tried chlorophyll?
I haven't, no. I'm finding it hard to get a liquid chlorophyll that's pure without added like peppermint and added anything. I can't find it yet. So I'm still on the search for a chlorophyll. I've got this is a Christmas edition of my chocolate soap, chocolate and honey. So I've got honey in most of these, except for my Castell soap, which is pure saponified olive oil. It's really good for people who are sensitive to any smells or any additives. This one's got cocoa butter, so when you add butters, what happens is it makes it a harder bar, and so it lasts longer, and it's got a really subtle sort of chocolatey smell to it. And this one is got activated charcoal in it. Charcoal has amazing absorptive propities. So
it binds things very tightly. Yeah. It's what we use in the hospital when what we used back in the day. If somebody had overdosed or ingested some kind of poison, you would use charcoal.
Well, your grandma used to burn toast to like feed it to you when you had a sore stomach or something. Yeah, it's the absorptive properties are really nice. So I put it with tea tree oil, and it's a bar that is having really good results with sort of acne prone facial skin on the face. So and then this one's like a coffee scrub soap, so I've put the organic coffee grounds in there, and that's it's got a little bit of the essential oil is really sort of subtle, and it does dissipate over time. So this one, these ones hold really well. These are the cinnamon, and it's got clove and cardamom in there, and it's got cinnamon, clove and cardamom sprinkled on top as well. And this is this is called the chai soap, and then this is calendula. So I get the calendula out of the garden, and what I do is, so when you're infusing sort of flowers out of the garden, what you want to do is have them really dry. So I dry them just on my windowsill, and it's really important to dry them out fully before you add them to the oil. Otherwise you can get some mold on there, and you don't want any mold. And so this is what I've done here, and I put it in olive oil, and I just infuse it. Some people heat it to infuse it to increase the process, or will decrease the time of the process. I like to keep the oil at a lower temperature, so I just put this in my pantry and infuse it for at least 6 weeks, but it's usually longer.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I think we're probably hitting our time now, but thanks so much for everything. And how do we buy these amazing products? How do people find you? My name is Rumbalara Bees, and I'm on Facebook and on Instagram, and I also have a website. What's the best way for people if they want to purchase something, to send you a message on Facebook or the website?
I've got a website with a shop. Okay. So you can purchase through the shop on the website, or I also am with a group of local producers called Rico Central Coast, and each week there's soaps and lip balm and honeycomb available, and candles available for purchase through their shop.
Perfect. Thanks so much. I think I think there's going to be a lot of people who are really excited to get some of these products. So I'm one of them. So good. All right. I think we're all done, Monika.
Thank you for having me.